Hi.
Hello, everyone.
What? And hello, Rada. Thanks for being with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. I know. I'm so excited about these conversations, and you were one of the very first people before I even started having the talks. I was like, "Oh, I have to have Rada on." My girl Rada. So but the conversations have been going really well so far. I'm so excited about them. Hi, Miss Margaret. How are you? Margaret is amazing. But yeah, the conversations have been going well and really excited to have you today for another episode of Leading Through the Cracks, where we have real stories, whole women, transformative leadership. And today I have with me my dear friend Rada, and she and I are going to be having a conversation about the permission for the soft life. Doesn't that just make you want to go like, we have permission to have softness in our lives. And a lot of us, especially as powerful women leaders, we're out there helping and caretaking and doing all the things to support other people. A lot of times, um, we end up abandoning our own self, and our own needs. And Rada and I are both coaches. Rada is an amazing, amazing voice for like affirmations and just really being kind to yourself. And so I want her to come on and have this conversation with me. So before we dive in, Rada, why don't you just share a little bit about yourself and what you do, your passions?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Nicole. And if you hear my puppy, I'm very sorry. Um, but yeah, so I'm a coach, I'm a therapist, and I also consider myself an affirmation enthusiast. And a lot of what I do is helping people rewire and reframe their self talk. So I utilize a lot of narrative therapy, a lot of storytelling, and I think society has kind of told us who we should be. I think we get a lot of mixed messages, at least that's my experience, of what kind of wife, what kind of daughter, what kind of daughter in law, what kind of sister, what kind of friend. You need to, for those of you who might be moms, you need to be working full time, but you also need to be with your kids full time, right? There's like this lot of contradiction that happens, right? Um, and we get a lot of our not we get a lot of, but we're getting all these stories from external sources, right? And so, what is really our internal sources? What is it that we really want? And so, I kind of dive deep into that, utilize both Western and Eastern philosophies. I find through my work, through my research, through my experience, there's actually a lot more commonalities than there are differences. We just have different words and terms. And so, I find in the integration of both it becomes more digestible, and makes more sense. And I'm just really passionate about this work, because I know what it's like not to be kind to yourself. And I have experienced, as we go into the soft life, I've experienced what it's like not to have a soft life and how detrimental that can be to not only your mental health, but also your physical health.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing all that. I consider you the affirmation enthusiast as well. And I love, what you're saying about how um, just combining Eastern and Western philosophies, and there's so many commonalities between us. I mean, between those two things and us as individuals as well, that sometimes we can get caught up in a lot of the nuances and differences, and there really is this space for connection and community and togetherness when we look at it as a whole. And certain things are just truth for for universally. And I also love what you were saying about how you know what it's like to not be kind to yourself. Like, and I think a lot of us that do this work, um, we do it partly because we do know. We know what it is like to not be kind. We know what it is like to not have a soft life. Um, it's a perfect lead in because I was this weekend, I don't even know if I told you this, Rhoda, but this weekend I did a grief workshop and it was so great. We had a great time. But leading up to the grief workshop, I had my own grief episode. Right. So I'm getting prepared, ready to like facilitate this group, support these families who are going through some type of grieving moment in their lives. And then I have a grief moment
Mhm,
before it happens. And it was like, it's like, oh my gosh, not right now. But we know that life happens and grief is very unpredictable. And so, I went through the grief workshop. It was great. I was energized through it all. And then afterwards, that was Saturday, then Sunday. I'm just kind of, just relaxing, going through the day. And I got a message from someone who I was supposed to have a meeting with today. And she might even be listening at some point. She's the quiet caregiver on Substack. And we were supposed to have a meeting today, and she said to me in a message, "Hey, I know you had a really tough day this weekend. This was a hard weekend, emotionally hard weekend. Are you okay to have our meeting? I'm fine to reschedule." And I almost immediately, Rada, I almost was like, "No, I don't need to reschedule. Let's just like it was like not even a." And then I had to pause because all the time I'm preaching about pausing, all the time I'm preaching about, hey, you need to take care of yourself. You need to take a moment to breathe. You need to do this. And I almost like completely rushed through her message, like, of course I'll meet with you. And then I just sat there and I was like, like I had to breathe and I had to think about it. And I was like, yeah, I can reschedule with her. It's totally fine for me to reschedule with her. It does not mean that I'm slacking. It doesn't mean that anything's wrong. It just means I'm taking a moment. I'm taking a moment to refuel and to recharge and I have permission to do that. It's fine.
mhm.
You know,
I think that's so important because I think, like, in the such we live in such a fast-paced world, right? We live in hustle culture where productivity is like, I don't know, like, we're always trying to find a hack to be more productive, right? And it's like, you can take time to respond. Like, if someone texts you, you can take time to respond. Even just sitting with yourself, like, even her asking to reschedule, like, that's so kind and generous of her for it's that, right? Someone that you clearly have great rapport with, but also for you to sit and be like,
yeah.
"Do I reschedule? Do I not reschedule?" It's like practicing breathe,
Yeah.
pause, breathing. If you want to schedule, great. If you don't want to reschedule, also great. But like giving yourself that permission, I think that like we can preach it all day, right? But it's in those micro moments when we actually integrate a practice. That's the feeling. That's the smile. That's the relief.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. It's like and it kind of almost like it gave me a little check too because it's like, you know, I am that person who is always encouraging someone else to take care of themselves. I'm always encouraging other people like, "Hey, it's okay to do this. It's okay to slow down. It's okay. All of this is okay." But then it's like you I really like as leaders, as caretakers, therapists, coaches, you really have to sit there and look at yourself and like, are you living in alignment with the words that you're speaking to other people? And she really allowed me to sit in that this weekend and really kind of think about it. Like, am I really in alignment with what I'm encouraging my community, my clients, my area of influence to do? And it really, and I'm glad that I've had that opportunity because I think it makes me come to my work from a new kind of refreshed lens, I guess.
It's okay to do less, and I think there's such a fear, I think, sometimes behind, like, "Okay, if I do less, then I'm not doing enough, and then I'm not worthy," and then it creates, like, the opposite of a soft life. Like, I've really been thinking about I don't have all the words, but I've really been thinking about overcompensation and and I think so many of us, especially both of us being women of color, I think that's kind of the story that we've been taught, the story that so many of us had to live.
Yeah,
Depending on where we are currently, we might not have to live that story anymore.
exactly.
And it's a blessing, right? And it's also creates responsibility.
Mhm,
And the things that our mothers or previous generations had to do, right?
mhm.
We made, we have a different journey and a different version, and it's unique to each of us. But do we really need to spend the 3 on Canva? Do we really need to spend, the 5 hours numbing and scrolling on social media, right? Like, what is it like? Are we like striving for cheap dopamine hits, or are we enriching ourselves and allowing slowness, allowing us to follow our cycle, allowing us to, you know, not schedule 5 things at once and only schedule 1 thing at once? Like, where like, are when we're scheduling 5 things at once, are we really getting those 5 things done? Right? And I think that's like the dance, the balance, right? Because we wear so many hats as leaders,
Mhm.
softness, so we're not, like, burning out or creating tension in our
Yeah.
soldiers, in our shoulders. It right? There's so much, like, health issues around, like, the pelvic floor, right? And where is that coming from? A lot of that is stress induced.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. Just what you were saying about how, you know, the balance and having that um just you don't have to do 5 things at once. You can do 1, or you can create space and do nothing for a moment, you know? And but it's funny that you mentioned balance because I was literally this morning having a conversation with myself about how I hate the word balance. So this may be like unpopular opinion, but I really I really struggle with the word balance. And one of the reasons I struggle with it is because when I think of balance, the picture that immediately comes to my mind is like Simone Biles on the balance beam, and she's up there and she's fighting for her life to stay on that 4-inch balance beam. And I think about that and I kind of like envision us as women in life, like on that teetering. And I think about, I've heard Simone talk about before being on the balance beam and how much like energy and muscle and whatever it takes to stay up there. And so I've really tried to, like, in thinking about the soft life, I've really started to kind of shift my language from balance to what is aligned for you in this moment of your life, in this season of your life. Like I understand. Like it's not like I'm throwing away balance totally, but it's kind of like that framework of balance to me means that everything gets something. Like you don't nothing is kind of left behind. And in some instances, I understand how that applies. But I think sometimes we take that word balance and we feel like you have to address everything at every time and make sure everything is staying. So you're staying on that balance beam, like Simone, you know what I'm saying? And whereas alignment to me feels more like, okay, in this season, I have to focus on my kid. That is the priority. That's it. Or in this season, like for me personally, I'm getting ready to do a major launch in October. So for me, there's some things that just have to fall off, right? Because I have to focus on the launch. And so some things, like my life, it may look out of balance right now, but it's in alignment with where I'm going. And so when we do that, and don't abandon our need to have those pauses and check-ins, because I can check in every day or every week or whatever my rhythm is to say, okay, you're doing this. Are you feeling good? Is everything going the way, going in the flow that you need it to go in? And if it's not, then I adjust. And sometimes I feel like that doesn't feel like balance to me all the time, but alignment feels really good.
I agree with you because I think sometimes balance gets, like, I don't know the word for it, but it makes it seem like you have to be perfect at all
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Totally, like,
Yeah.
your whole plate is full, but your plate can still be full, but your priorities have shifted, right? Whether it's your launch, whether it's your career, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your child. We
Mhm.
really have one focus, right? And we try to be like, "Okay, have 3 priorities a day, have 5 priorities a day," and it's no, like, it's really one per season. We've just entered a new era where we've just glorified multitasking and glorified productivity to the detriment of our own mental health. We were not to intake this much information in one day. And so I think the soft life is about, like, going back to what you practice and what you preach. It's about pausing. It's
Mhm.
down. It's about stepping back. And what does the soft life look like for you in
Yeah.
this of life, right? So for you, it might be the launch and it might be taking things off your plate, right? It might be adding in massage. It might be adding in like under eye masks every day. It might be adding in um, 5 minutes of affirmations, right? Like, what does the soft life look like for you? I can share for me, it's like I don't have any kids. I have a puppy, but he can sleep in. He's a sleepy dog. For me, it's waking up an hour early
Mhm.
and just taking my time throughout the day. And the things that I'm sharing about a soft life, it isn't anything novelty or anything you've never heard before, but it's about the intention and the actual practice.
Yeah.
Me waking up an hour early has, like, made such a tremendous like, impact on my day to day because I'm not waking up urgently. I'm not waking up and looking at my phone and, it's 7:57 AM and I have to be online at 8 AM and I'm trying to take my dog out and make my coffee and do my prayers and da da da. I'm like, I have an hour and I have time and I can do the things that I want to do at a slower pace, enjoy them instead of like rushing past it. And
Mhm.
that is more alignment than balance. That's taking time for myself before I pour into my clients, before I pour into my family, before I pour into, wherever my phone takes me, right? Like either I use social media or social media uses me. And so it's how do I want to approach each day? And that is what the soft life means for me.
I love that. That's so beautiful. Either I use social media or social media uses me. Like, you need to like that could be I don't know, some kind of journal, some kind of talk, I don't know, but I love it. And it's so true. I think what the soft life means for me right now in this season is really um like removing things from my plate, as you said, because I am so laser focused on ending the year well in my business. And that takes a lot of emotional energy and, a lot of pouring out for other people and just being there, being of service. And so there's certain things that might have to fall by the wayside. And I need to be okay with that. And I am okay with that. Um, Another aspect of it, though, is making sure that even though I'm doing this launch and doing, all these things that go with a launch, all the moving pieces, it's also making sure that I'm filling my cup. And so one of the ways for me me, one of the things for me, I'm a deeply creative person. I'm a painter and singer and I play the piano, all these things. Those things typically fall by the wayside. If I'm, I got to do this launch, I got to write this course, I got to work on my book, all those things. And but those things are really the things that fuel me and give me life. So they kind of energize me so that I can do the launch. I can make sure all the moving pieces are there. So for me, it's kind of like a return to that sweet, quiet space of, maybe I get up and I start the day playing the piano and I'm just sitting there, like I'm just playing. I'm just, I have my tea and I'm at my keyboard. Or I get my little art journal and I'm painting and doing the things, and it kind of gives an ease and a flow, and it also opens up the creative juices too, right? Because it's it's creativity, it's color, it's texture, it's sound, and all of those things for me are really life-giving, and they energize me. And when I cut them off, I feel it. And so for me, the soft life is making sure I don't cut those things off. Even if it can't look like what I would normally want it to look like. And I think this is a major thing that we do as women. Like if it can't look like it's supposed to look, then I'm just not going to do it. Because for me, I want to have my big canvas and I want to be painting and doing all the I don't I can't. I don't have time for that right now. And it's messy and then I got to clean it up, and but if I have my little art journal and I can just kind of use my markers, use my crayons, use my pastels or whatever, I'm still getting that creativity and that juice flowing, and I'm not completely abandoning what my spirit needs, you know?
I think the the main thing that I heard is like for me, I think in the
Mm,
process of the soft life, it's really knowing who you are and what and not what society tells you what you need, but what your intuition tells you what you need.
yeah,
And for you, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think sometimes society or maybe the families we may have grown up in, um, sometimes creativity and play isn't given the same validation
yeah,
as being a grade or a paycheck or, something at work. And so I think it's easier to be like, oh, well, I don't need to play the piano. I don't need to a song. I don't need to, but it's like your soul, your spirit knows that like
yeah.
you need to hum. You need to whatever it is for you.
Mhm.
That's about the voice. That's about really tapping in. I think so many of us have suppressed what we want to say, what we really do for our family, for our friends, for society, for some story in our head that may not even be true. And
Mhm.
time has come where when we're in community, when we're in connection, we find those moments of expression of like, wait, my intuition, her intuition is telling her to play the piano. My intuition is telling me I need to color. I need
Yeah.
to share, right? Like for you. I think that's the key that's missing. There is not one size that fits all.
Mhm.
Of life, and that is the beauty of a soft life, but
Mhm.
willing to slow down enough to just listen to those whispers.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we get into these rhythms and we don't even hear that small voice, you know? And that's why I'm always saying, we need to pause. Let's pause. Can we please pause? And it's like you said earlier, nothing that we are saying is like so revolutionary, right? We all know these things, but our society is set up in a way that it's so easy to not do what we know to do. And so I think that's why these conversations are so important, because we need to be here to encourage one another. We need to hear each other's stories and experiences so that we can see ourselves in them and say, oh, yeah, I remember that. I need to tap back into what that looks like for me. Oh, yeah, I need to do that. for myself because life comes at you fast, right? There's so many things, there's so much happening. And I think that there's so many, as you mentioned this earlier too, there's so many conflicting messages. And then there's also the narratives that we've grown up with from our families, the narratives that how we see ourselves, how we find our worth. What do we find ourselves to be valuable? What is in what where do we find the value in ourselves? And a lot of times because of the experiences that we've had and the narratives that we've grown up with, that value comes from producing.
Yeah.
So if we're pausing and we think that pausing is stopping us from producing and we find our value in productivity, then there's no stopping because we won't be valuable then.
And that's a deep fear, right? That goes into like psychology of like survivorship, right? Our brain, as far as we have come in evolution, our brains are still built for survivorship. And if we don't feel we're valuable, right, there's a deep fear of like, we'll be rejected. And that rejection in the brain can show up as like fear of death. Like it's so, so extreme. And so it's very normal for our mind and body to go there. But that is why the pause
Mhm.
is so important, right? Like there's like when a wolf experiences um extreme like stress, right? If they're like in a fight or they're like trying to get food or something stressful happens after it's done, after the attack is done, they literally shake. They
Mm,
literally shake their body to re-regulate, right? And so it's that same concept. Like things are going to come at us, right? As much as you plan your day, as much as you create the soft life, something is going to come at you. And it's like, okay, how can I pause and how can I re regulate? Because if we're not where our feet are,
mm,
we're going to be somewhere else. And that somewhere else isn't going to help us. And so it's a practice and it takes time. And I definitely don't have it perfect by any means, but it's that conversation, right? I think we have to keep talking about it because the more we continue to glorify productivity, we're seeing in statistics. People are very happy, right? Depression levels are higher, suicide risk is higher, communities are scared, like relationships are falling apart.
mhm,
We're seeing this in every aspect, but our health, right? We're the most overweight in the world. Like there's so many things happening, right? And so many things at play, right? With the food culture we live in and processed foods and all of that. But a lot of that is from stress, right? Like disease is literally the lack of ease,
yes.
right? And
Mhm,
every common symptom or factor in every disease out there is stress. And so we need to learn to manage our stress in a way that works for us.
mhm,
And it's not easy. Um, and like you said, we can start to feel less valuable. And when we feel rejected and rejected, right, there's this desperation. Okay, do more, do more, do more, do more, do more. And by doing more, we're actually repelling the
yeah,
needs that the universe wants to give us.
yeah,
And it's kind of like you said to do less. Uh,
mhm,
We're in eclipse season, or we're entering eclipse season. So it's kind of like clipping. We want to clip away at
mhm,
things that no longer serve us
mhm,
so we can step into alignment and do more of what we were really meant to do. We're
yeah,
not their productivity hack, y'all. Like we just aren't.
yeah. I love that. You said the eclipsing season, is that what you said? Yeah, clipping away the things that no longer serve us. Yeah, I love that. And we so need to do that. And it's so important. And again, it brings me back to the pause. I'm always coming back to the pause, y'all. Because if we don't know what's no longer serving us, we we keep going, we keep going, we keep going. That's why pausing is so important. Like, so you can check in. Like, is this thing really serving me? Do I really need to continue doing XYZ? Or is this relationship still nurturing, giving fruit, healthy, all the things. And so, yeah, it's just this really critical thing that we need to do to be able to um check in. I know I love it too, the clipping season. I'm telling you, Rada, that's another one. You grab onto that one and just, I'll be looking for something coming out about it. But yeah, I love that so much. Um, so, I think that gosh, there's so many directions, so many things that you can say about living a soft life and permission to live a soft life. What do you think for the woman who is just um I don't just so busy. Like you and I, Rod and I used to work together. So we kind of like, know the type of clients that we have worked with in that setting. And, they tend to be like just the immediate words out of their mouth when you mention a break, a self-care strategy, a bath. I don't know. It's like shut down. Like it is impossible. I can't even see it. I don't even know how that's possible in my life. Everything's going to fall apart if I do that. All the things that we are used to hearing back from people when we start to have these conversations. What are some of the things that you think could be like a helpful starting place for someone or even like an actual starting place, but with an action, but then also like the mindset of kind of shifting that narrative. What do you think are some of the things that we could say to people?
Yeah, I think for folks that feel so busy that it seems impossible to add a break, like, first, I want to say you're probably right.
Mm,
All the A lot of moving parts, you probably have a lot of roles and responsibilities, so I get it. I
mm,
hear um, the second thing I would say, like, if you really wanna start and that desire comes from you that you really wanna create some sort of soft life, a 5% soft life, a 10% soft life, whatever, if that desire comes from you, it will happen, right? So, with wanting that desire, I would say, you know, do what's already working, right? So if you're already like doing so many things and you're doing like you're the soccer coach for your kids' team, and then you're also the lead on the product, and you're also planning Thanksgiving, you know, can't believe it's already the holidays, but you're planning Thanksgiving Day dinner or whatever it is. Like, all right, you're already so good at planning. Let's use that strength. Let's plan a break time. Let's plan just 5 minutes. Let's schedule it in like before lunch or like, are you even eating lunch? But like, are you, like, let's schedule that in. Like, what are you already good at? And how can we integrate the life? Because I think we're always looking at what we're not doing right. And it's like the wrong lens. We need to start looking at through the lens of what are we doing right? We have these amazing relationships. We have all these events to go to. We have a salary coming in. We have a house to live in. What is going well and using that as a starting point because that comes from an abundance mindset versus a lack mindset.
mhm,
And then the second thing I would say, kind of backtracking, utilizing you as an example, you're in this season of launch. You're taking things off your plate. And I think for many of us who are women or leaders, when we take things off our plate, while that's great and we do that, sometimes guilt shows up. Sometimes shame shows up, and that can take up more space than the actual activity. So I would also incorporate a practice that removes guilt. Because I think the reason why so many of us say we don't have time is because we feel guilty, or
mhm.
like you said, we don't feel valuable. So, like, what can we do to feel like I deserve my own time. What can I do to feel like I deserve the sun kissing my skin? What can
Mhm.
I feel like to like enjoy a hot cup of tea and not having to microwave it 5 times because I keep, you know, take
Yes.
out or keep, whatever it is. Like
Mm.
it's coming back to you.
Yes.
Like nobody else can make answer these questions for you. Only you can answer these questions for
Mm.
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And I always, when I'm speaking to someone who is in that space of like, it's impossible, cannot do this, I always have so much compassion for them because I absolutely know what that feels like. You know, it feels it you feel like you're like the things it's constricting. Everything is coming in on you. It's closing in, and if you do one little thing, it's all going to fall apart. And I get what that feels like. I really do. And I one of the things that I like to tell people when they feel that way is everything is hard. Like, making the choice to schedule in a pause is hard. Continuing what you're doing is also hard, right? They're both challenging. They both require a lot from us. But one of those can actually start to shift the needle on what is happening in your life. So you get to choose. You get to choose which hard you're gonna take, and the other thing is that, and we've mentioned it a few times throughout here, is talking about how this impacts our physical bodies. And, you know, we only get one body, right? We only get one body, one vessel to carry out the callings and the purposes of our lives that we have been given. And there's only one of you who can pour into those people that you're feeling guilty about shifting the narrative, shifting the patterns that you've been in. And so I start to think about it like that. Like, and I do have a story of where I literally hit a brick wall. We always talk about you're going to hit the brick wall, you're going to hit the brick wall. I physically, literally ran into a house,
Mm,
and I call that my intentional pause because then I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't, thank thank God I am alive and I am here, but I did hit a brick wall. And when I hit that brick wall, it was during one of the most difficult seasons of my life as far as how busy I was. I was a full-time doctoral student. I was a full-time therapist and in a hard therapy job. It wasn't just well, all therapy is hard. Let me not. All therapy can be hard. But what I mean is like the schedule and the intensity of what I was doing in that particular therapy role that I was in while being a full-time doctoral student, while having to caretake for a mom who was not well. All of that at the same time, and then I physically hit a brick wall. And during that time, I call it my intentional pause. During that time is when I realized, hey, you cannot keep functioning like this. If you keep functioning like this, you will die. Like, prematurely. You are slowly killing yourself by the schedule that you are keeping. And not only is that schedule ridiculous, it's also causing you to eat like crap. It's also causing you to not sleep. It's also causing you to stop moving your body. All of the things that you need to remain healthy and carry out the gifts and the callings that are on your life. And so that is something that I really want to speak to those people who are like, I can't do it. I can't do it. But I don't want them to hit a physical brick wall. I want them to hear about what happened when I hit the brick wall and all of the revelation that came to me because I hit a brick wall. I want us to really recognize and understand that we cannot be all things to all people at all times. And we're not called to do that. And we're not capable of doing that. And so the soft life is really about taking a step back, pausing again, taking that step back, looking at the reality of what's in front of you and choosing better for you. And when you choose better for you, it's not just for you because people think it's selfish, right? It's like, I feel guilty, I feel selfish. This is not just for you. Taking a step back and pausing and choosing a soft life and integrating that ease into your world, it's not just for you. It's so that you can show up healthy, whole, strong, and well for the things that you keep trying to hold together. And we want we want to show up well. We want to lead well and live well and love well. And the only way we can continue to do that with any consistency is pouring back into ourselves.
It's so true. It makes sense. It's a gift for yourself and those
Mhm.
when you pour back into yourselves. And we want to pour into our own cups that give with the overflow, not for us. And I think we've, been brainwashed that that's what we need to do, right? Like that's why even on if you're flying on an airplane to this day, they still tell you to put your mask on first before you put your child's mask on. And why do we need that reminder, right? Every time
Ev
because it's so true and so real. And it's it's not, going it's a choice that you get to make and it's not always going to be easy. And that's okay. But what can you do to make it easier, right? Like in business, they tell you it's location, 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 right? Make it easy. Why are you scrolling? Because it's easy. It's on your phone. Delete the app for a day, right? Different folder. If
Mhm,
you really want to move your body, have your workout set ready and have a walking buddy, right? Like make
mhm,
it so absolutely easy that you are going to have the soft life, right?
mhm.
Give yourself permission to enjoy that process. But we have to make it easy. We are creatures of habit. And, if the phone is right next to your bed, that's what you're gonna reach for. If your phone is literally in a different room or across on the dresser, you're not gonna reach for it. It's really, really simple in certain ways, and we can make it easy for ourselves if we choose to and we have that desire from ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. I love that, Arata, and you mentioned this a couple times today about that desire within you. Like, if that desire is within you, move with that desire, like, move your intention with that desire because it can and will happen, and again, I know I sound like a broken record, but sometimes sometimes we don't know our desires. And so in order to know our desires, we do have to pause. We have to create these spaces in our lives so that we can actually hear ourselves and get to know ourselves and really tap into what we need and what we're longing for deep down in our spirit, in our mind, in our body. Like, what we are triune beings, right? We need to tap into touching and realizing, recognizing what every piece of ourselves, every aspect of ourselves needs. And sometimes we just don't know. Like, I know you've had this experience, Rada, where we've been coaching people and we ask them, what what is your like, sometimes they don't even know why they're in coaching. They don't even know why they're there. They don't know. And so we have to ask certain questions of them to get them to think and reflect if you don't have a coach, then you got to do that for yourself. You've got to pause and you've got to ask yourself these powerful questions to tap into what is it that you really need
Mm.
to really know yourself so that you can move from that place of this is my soft life. This is my need. This is my intention. And it might not look like mine. It might not look like the next person. That's why pausing is so important because we are too busy looking out and thinking we have to be like this person or this person or this person, but our life is not that life. Our life is not set up like that life. So a soft life could look totally different for this mom who's juggling kids, or this man who is the CEO of whatever he's doing over here, and this woman who's wearing all these hats and volunteering everywhere, and running a nonprofit or whatever she those those soft lives could look very different. So we can't there's no pattern. There's no like, this is the soft life and this is how you get to it. No, the pattern is we all have to pause. That's the pattern. Like, we have to pause and check in and know ourselves so deeply and personally and intensely, who we were created to be and the needs of our hearts and spirits. That's what the soft life comes out of.
It's so true. I was writing something down and it, like you said, what is yours? Like, it reminds me of a quote is, what is yours will always be yours.
Mhm.
And, what leaves you was never yours to begin with. And it's that reminder. It's like sometimes, this is my experience, sometimes that I'll say it myself, I keep trying for things that I don't really want.
Mm.
And try for things that society tells me I want. And
Yeah.
some society, we agree. Sometimes we want the same things, but sometimes we don't. And I keep forcing and forcing and pushing and adding these things to look busy or to look cool or whatever it is, but I don't really want it.
Mm.
And so, like, really taking that time and having that safe space to emote, to
Mhm.
express, to have that feedback with a coach, a therapist, with yourself through journaling, like,
Yeah.
that's that's when the magic happens. That's when you hear the whispers. And so that's why I keep going back to, like, what is it that you really want? We're so busy asking everybody else, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? Right?
Yes. Yes. I love it. Yeah. So, I I I always love chatting with you, Rada, because you are like, I feel like we're always on the same wavelength, and you just even your voice is just so calming and soothing, and I really appreciate you being here today with me to have this conversation. And um is there anything, as we kind of start to bring the conversation down a little bit, is there anything that you want to say, or any parting words, advice, comments for
I would say this is something that I'm working on, but something that I know, like, we mentioned earlier, nothing is necessarily novelty that we're sharing,
Mhm,
but please, please do not look at your phone the first 30 seconds of the day. 30 seconds. So make it to 40 seconds because
mhm,
you're inviting everybody on your phone into your bed. Your bed is a sacred space. Your mind is a sacred space. Give yourself time to make you the number one priority, not
mhm,
so please. That would be my just try it for 7 days. 7 days. 30
mhm.
seconds. The first thing you look at is not your phone.
Love that. The first thing you look at is not your phone in the morning, and you are inviting those people into your sacred space. I love that. That is, I am going to keep sticking that with me. I try not to do that, but sometimes I'm not going to lie, y'all. Like, I am right there. Oh, what am I going to post on Substack today? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, whatever the first thing is. So thank you for that. And, for those of you that are watching live, I thank you so much for being here. I want to share with you guys that um, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Nicole, and my Substack is Mosaic Life, and we have these conversations every Monday around this time. I'm usually here with a different woman. We're talking about just issues surrounding life, love, and leadership, and how to show up with your full self and caring and nurturing for all aspects of your life, which is where the mosaic comes from, like the pieces of us, making sure we're taking care of all the pieces of us and nurturing all the pieces of us with no guilt and no shame. So coming up in October, October 1st through October 10th, I am doing something called Sip from the Well, 10 days of pause. And I'm inviting all of you to join me. There's nothing you have to do. You can just find me right here on Substack. It'll be October 1st through October 10th. If you want, we are going to have a little bit of a deeper dive into each day if you're a subscriber to me. So if you want to become one of my free subscribers, that would be awesome to join me in the deeper journey. But leading up, you're going to hear me talk about it consistently over this next month leading up to the first, but it's Sip from the Well, 10 days of pause, and where I'll be guiding us each of those first 10 days of October through a different way that we can take a pause and implement that into our lives. 10/10 is significant because it's World Mental Health Day. So we're going to end on 10/10. I'm going to be doing a live Zoom and inviting you guys in. I'm going to have prizes. I'm going to have for people who have been really engaging with me during that time, and it's just going to be fun. But it's going to be a way to reset ourselves so that we can really prioritize our wellness, prioritize our wholeness, and really focusing on that. So that's what it's about. Everyone is welcome to do that. It's free of charge. We're just going to have a good time resetting, rethinking, changing the narrative, and making the pause our focus as we head into the holidays. So I hope you'll join me for that. Again, Rada, thank you so much for being with me today. Always a joy to be with you. And for everyone else, I will be back next Monday. Next Monday, we're talking about joy with the Cindy Cohn, who is here on Substack. Cannot wait for that conversation. It's going to be amazing. But thank you so much, Rada. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And we'll see you next time. Bye.